Hello, I'm the Faerie-Tempest, and welcome to the start of my brand new channel. I'm real excited to be bringing y'all a new challenge, the Black History Challenge, which is based on the Decades Challenge, but adapted to honor major events and milestones in Black history. So the ultimate goal of this challenge is to progress your founder's bloodline from the 1870s to present day in a somewhat historically accurate way. There are a lot of rules to this challenge, which I will not make you sit through, but I will give a brief introduction and will also link the rules in the description. So let's jump in. So we're starting out in Willow Creek with our founders, who I will introduce you to a little bit later on. I want to talk about how I set up my Black History Challenge, how I set up my save. So I started out with Seriously Sims blank save, and that completely erases all of the lots, all of the residential and community lots. It deletes every single sim in the save file. So for instance, if I go over to Oasis Springs, I don't think I see anybody or put anybody here. Yeah, so every single lot is deleted. All the sims are gone except for this random person that I put there. And it's a great way to start out if you want to create your own save file, or if you want to create a historically accurate game like I'm doing here. The worlds that are allowed in the 1870s at the beginning of this challenge are Willow Creek and Newcrest. I chose to start in Willow Creek because the um, world is designed after New Orleans. That was the inspiration for this world. And in 1870, 95% of the black population lived in the South. And I even noticed today that Willow Creek sort of has this description that talks about a sprawling region of lush bayous and rolling plantation land that's home to aristocratic farmers, southern gentry, and swamp dwellers. So Willow Creek is definitely designed to feel like it could be the South, Southern America, which is great for this challenge and what I am trying to do. I tried to create a historically accurate save file. I'm not a historian, just an amateur nerd, but I built some of these lots myself. So my founder's home, their family, their extended family's homes, and I built a couple of the churches that you see in this world and over in Newcrest. And I also downloaded a lot of, probably most of the lots that are in the save file from the gallery. There's some really talented builders on there. So, and I'm not a builder. So I downloaded a lot of lots as well. I created the extended family for my founders. I also created a bunch of townies that we will see walking around the world. I also oh, you're not, that's, no, I'm not supposed to have aliens, but anyway. So I created some of these sims, I downloaded some of the others. I just wanted the world to feel full. Like we saw with that rando alien, we might still see some futuristic or very non 1870s looking sims wandering around. I might do my best in the beginning, at least, to make sure that they all look like they're supposed to be in the 1870s. But as we get further into the challenge, it might be really tedious for me to do that, and I might stop at some point. We'll see what happens, kind of feel it out as we go. So as I mentioned, I did build some of these lots, like these little cabins and houses here for the families that I put in the world. I also built this plantation house over here that is owned by the Weeks family. So this is the Shadows on the Tesh, I think is how it's pronounced, Shadows on the Tesh. And I would like to actually show you this build. All right, so this is the Shadows on the Teche plantation. This is a real plantation house that exists in Louisiana. It was built in 1834 in real life by a sugarcane planter named David Weeks. Apparently, it's a classic revival style home with a Louisiana colonial floor plan. Um, and so I wanted to have an actual plantation house in the world, just sort of as a reminder of where we are. And this is probably one of the biggest houses I have ever created, which, uh, compared to some of the things that people put on the gallery, is not much to, compare to, but I'm really happy with how this turned out, and so I'm gonna show you a little bit of the floor plan here. So we have two drawing rooms here. This is where I would imagine the ladies of the house would entertain their guests and have their piano and violin, their hired musicians playing music, and as they sit by the fire and gossip about other ladies in town. This drawing room is a little bit more designed for the men, so we've got their chess and their card games or poker or whatever they'd be playing, um, and lots of custom content, as you can probably tell. These portraits up here. I think even the dog bed is custom content. We have a dining room over here, um, a kitchen, a very large kitchen, the ballroom, and this would be the servants' quarters. Ignore the clipping over there. This would be the servants' quarters. Um, this would be their section of the house, sort of away from everyday everyday life, but definitely always a part of life here. Fun fact, real quick: the kitchen in the real life Shadows plantation was added to the house when it was restored in 1922. Back in the 1870s, 1800s, the kitchen would have actually been completely separate from the rest of the house, and the cooks, as well as their biological family, would have lived in like a loft space above the kitchen, because cooking for a big like family, a big estate like this would have been a 24/7 job. Um, and so this, and also a lot of the cooking was done in the fireplace, sort of like over a huge open flame until stoves were invented. And so that heat, especially during the summer, would not be something that you would want heating up the rest of the house. Probably more importantly, all the different smells that came out of kitchens, and all of the different things that were sort of like pickling or marinating or even being cleaned or thrown out, whatever. That was actually probably the bigger reason. And then moving up to the second floor, we've got a couple of different bedrooms. This is the master bedroom over here, as well as their teenage daughter's bedroom. And then this I sort of viewed as the nursery. So we've got toddler beds and a little toddler chamber pot, as well as toys and drawing activities and things like that. In the floor plans that I based this build off of, there is a bathroom and sort of a dressing room over here. In the 1800s, this probably would have been something completely different, because indoor plumbing was not a thing, but that's what I have put there because that's what was in the floor plans, and that is the Shadows plantation. Okay, heading back into the world. So I do want to talk about a little bit the mods and the custom content that it took to set up this game. So I already mentioned that I use Seriously Sims blank save file. I am also making MC Command Center by Deaderpool a required mod for this challenge. It is a fantastic mod. There are so many different tuning options. You can change the rate of pregnancy, of marriage, because it gives your Sims or your townies rather story progressions. So they will get married, they will have babies even when I'm not doing anything with them, which is just a great way for the world to continue doing its thing around me. I also use Pandora Simbox's Timeless mod in this save file. That is one that I highly recommend. So the Timeless mod removes cars that drive down the street. It removes planes that you might see flying overhead. It removes city skylines. So I think in Windenburg, in the background, you can see different, like, yeah, different cityscapes in the background of certain lots, depending on where you are in the world, and those are completely removed with this mod, which is again just great for historical gameplay. And then there is a whole heap of custom content in this save file. There are so many talented creators that I have used. I might try to do a video at some point of the different content that I have in my game. We'll see. We'll see. But I would love to introduce you to our founders. We have Rose and Benjamin Coates, and Benjamin's mother, May, lives with them as well as their two farm dogs, Odie and River. So let's jump into Cass and show you my founders. This is Benjamin Coates. He is 22 years old, so he was born in 1848. He loves the outdoors, he's self assured, and he's outgoing. So, Benjamin is the youngest of five children. He grew up on a plantation working in the fields, and he is a very optimistic young man. He is charismatic. He has this sort of bright energy that draws people into him, but he also loves to share that energy. Like he's one of those people that you leave them sort of feeling energized after talking to them. He certainly does not mind to be the center of attention and is more than happy to hold a conversation or hold the attention of a room. He loves to play the violin. He also enjoys working with his hands because he is an outdoorsy sim. He does really enjoy being in the garden and farming. He has an aspiration of a mansion baron, and for the purposes of this Let's Play, part of his story is that he wants to become a landowner one day, and that is sort of a journey that we will be following the Coates family on as we go. He is dressed relatively casually, you know, but he certainly has a good outfit that he can put on for Sundays, you know, Sunday church days. And yeah, those are his outfits. This is Rose Coates. This is Benjamin's wife. She is a good sim. She's creative and she's a music lover and she wants to have a big happy family. So Rose is also 22 years old. She is the third youngest of six children and she also grew up on a plantation, but she worked in the big house. So she was a domestic servant and was treated relatively well as far as uh, slavery and being a servant goes. She finds a lot of joy in music and family, and she also knows how to play the violin a little bit. She's a little bit better at the piano, and she's just like a very kind-hearted person.
Ah.
She sort of has this easy ability to create a community around her. She embraces strangers and just sort of brings everyone in to her circle, her inner community. And that is one of the things that Benjamin loves about her, I think, because they both are these optimistic people. And that's not to say that they're naive about life. They certainly understand the darker side of life. They were both enslaved for, what, 17 years, but I think she sees the good in others and sort of trusts herself to surround herself with good people. And I think she also has kind of an ability to bring out the good in other people. Have Mama May. This is Benjamin's mother. Um, she is 50 years old. She is family oriented. She loves the outdoors and she's gloomy. Um, and she's an outdoor
Bezirk?
enthusiast. So she truly loves being outside, working the land, even though that was something that people were forced to do for centuries. She finds
Oh.
a joy in sort of
Kisapay?
the simple
Drip.
cycle of planting seeds and harvesting crops and that kind of thing. She, when she was enslaved, she also worked in the big house, as it were, as a laundress and a seamstress. So she has the knitting skill. She also learned a little bit of herbal remedies from the cook when she worked in the house. So they have a little herbal garden in their
Yana.
home, which I'll be showing you a little bit later. May was married or is married. Her husband is William Coates, but he was separated from her when Benjamin was 5 years old. So he was sold to the Weeks plantation, which is the family that owns the Shadows plantation, which I showed you. And ever since then, she
Uh,
became kind of withdrawn. Yeah, she became kind of pessimistic and cynical and a little more reserved. But she lives with Benjamin because she is the closest to Benjamin out of all of her children. They both share the love of the outdoors, but because of his personality, like his just big energy and confident manner, like he was a huge source of joy and comfort to her after her separation, her forced separation. His optimism is something that she admires, I think. She doesn't really understand it, but she admires it. Last but not least, we have the farm dog. So this is Odie. He's a bull mastiff. He is a couch potato and a glutton, and he's very loyal. He's a loyal boy. And we also have River as another of our farm dogs. She's a mixed breed dog. She is adventurous and hairy and friendly. I don't actually know if it's historically accurate for a lot of black farmers to have farm dogs at this time. Um, but full disclosure, I am a dog lover, so this is fully me projecting my own love of dogs onto this family. Um, but that is, yeah. So these are my founders, and now let's go into where they live. Okay, so this is a dog trot house. It is termed as such because of this open breezeway, this open passageway between two sections of the house. And I think a lot of authors or people describing this type of architecture would sort of muse that, like, farm dogs would lay about this part of the house, and so it became the dog trot house. But in this time, so the residents of these houses in this time would have most likely known them as a double pen house, a hallway house, or a dog run. And all it is this um, breezeway between a living space. So, for instance, over here we have the bedroom and then some kind of functional space. So, for the Coates family, that means this is their kitchen. This is their, um, yeah, yeah, their kitchen and their dining room. Oh, this is a good time to mention the lot setup rules for the 1870s. So there is no electricity, obviously. So we will only see candles and lanterns around the house. Um, the off the grid lot trait is required if you have, it's either seasons or eco living, and I can't remember which one right now, but if you have that pack, the off the grid trait is required, which means no indoor plumbing, no electricity. Obviously, those things weren't available at this time anyway. And because there's no indoor plumbing, you also must have an outhouse, which is literally just an outdoor toilet. This particular toilet is custom content. You can certainly throw in just a regular old EA toilet in there, and I will not yell at you. And then I also have in here, wooden furniture and furnishings, only wooden floors and walls, no wallpaper or painted walls. These rules are really more like guidelines, just to give you an idea of what would be going on during that decade. The Black History Challenge is not a true challenge in the sense that there's a points system. It's really just about taking your Sims through history and sort of honoring the different events that happened along the way. Um, so, with all that said, I want to mention the careers that I have chosen for my Sims and the careers that are available at this time. Um, so, manual laborer, fisherman, carpenter, and sharecropper. Um, or if you are interested in putting even more mods into your game, Midnight Tech has some custom careers that you could use the manual laborer career pack, and then Peebs, Peebs, has a domestic service career as well as a tailoring career that would be very appropriate for this decade. Um, Benjamin and Rose are sharecroppers. So Benjamin is a tenant farmer. He uses the land that the Smith family owns in return for a portion of the crops produced on that land. What is sharecropping? If you don't know, it's a system that emerged in the years after emancipation as as sort of a bargaining system, right? So, oh my goodness, what are you guys arguing about? Can you come over here and actually grill some stuff? That would be good, I think. So sharecropping emerged after emancipation. Um, there was this idea or this dream of 40 acres and a mule, but that was pretty much a pipe dream. So the idea was that a lot of land in the South had been confiscated by I think, the Northern armies um, during the course of the Civil War. Um, and they sort of hoped that the hope was that this land could be sold to the freedmen. That was not something that could happen in reality because um, I mean, plain and simple, because white plantation owners did not want to part with their land, and they certainly did not want their land to go to the people that they had kept subservient for literally decades and centuries. Um, so and on top of that, plantation owners didn't have um, plantation owners didn't have money to suddenly start paying all of these people that they had been forcing to work on their land for free. Um, so, but of course, emancipated slaves needed some form of work and they needed some form of income. So, sharecropping emerged as a result. And gross, May, seriously? Oh my God. Okay, y'all are never having Franks and beans ever again. Oh my God. Anyway, so plantation owners didn't have money to suddenly start paying all of these people that they were forcing to work for free. Emancipated slaves needed some form of work, they needed some form of income, and many of them wanted to become landowners, but because they were, you know, not allowed to be educated, they didn't even know how to go about forming those kind of contracts. So a lot of emancipated slaves essentially had to go back to some of these plantation owners and form these contracts. So they did not own the land that they were working, but they worked the land and provided a portion of their harvest to the landowner, which would have been the white plantation owner, in return for their use of the land. And it was a system that didn't end up being that different from slavery because you might have a landowner who is particularly unfair and just sort of kept adding up all these debts, and if the African American man was illiterate, he wouldn't know that he was getting screwed with an unfair contract. And then on top of that, some states were passing laws so that if a tenant farmer or sharecropper tried to escape or like get away from their contract and go somewhere else, if they were caught, they could be arrested, they could be returned to the farm in chains, they could be moved to a prison farm. So sort of like the punishment for leaving that contract was sometimes worse than being in the unfair contract in the first place. So yeah, not a great system, and unfortunately it lasted like well into the 20th century. But despite all that, after a couple of decades, a lot of African American farmers were able to end up as landowners, which, is exactly what our Benjamin is hoping to do. So we'll see how that goes. Um, so, a couple of final things to note about this challenge and how it's going to play out. So, there will be a couple of different dice rolls that will come up, which we can talk about in the next part. There will be disasters, and because of the different well, that's very kind of you, Benjamin, but no. Um, that will seriously no more Franks and beans. I might even make you throw this out, but that's very wasteful, so I won't actually do that. Um, yeah, but okay, next time we'll get into some actual gameplay. We will start our spring harvest season, and we'll see if Rose and Benjamin. Oh my gosh! We'll see if Rose and Benjamin will have their first child, and I will ban Franks and beans from this household's menu. Seriously. Wow. No. Okay. All right, I think I'm going to leave this part right here. Thanks so much for watching. I'm really excited to bring this challenge to you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and hit subscribe for even more Black History Challenge videos coming your way. I will see you all in the next one. Thanks. Bye.